Senator Rice. Senator Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Deputy President. I listened closely to Senator Rice then, and I think what is apparent looking around the chamber, and certainly I'm in exactly the same boat as Senator Rice with elderly parents, and lots of us are struggling with this in our daily lives and dealing with it remotely from here. I've got a mother who's been in high needs aged care for over 3 years after 8 years of dementia, and a father that unfortunately is following. And to navigate and negotiate your way through this is difficult, it is devastating, and is fraught at the best of times and with the best of intentions and supportive families. So I am pleased that we are seeing as much reform as we can to the aged care sector coming through, and that we do make it easier for families who quite often have to deal with this, as at times it is the elderly parents that aren't really actually that attuned to what is actually happening around them, and it is the children, adult children, that are left then to negotiate this system for them. I guess in one way it's good that Labor's first aged care bill is almost a mirror image of what was put forward under the former government in the last parliament, and does directly relate to our response to the Royal Commission. But again, what's incredibly devastating for families like those of us that are going through this is that Mr Albanese was prepared to play politics with this issue. He was prepared to sit on his hands. He was prepared to block this legislation being implemented, and he was prepared to look at Senator Patrick, former Senator Patrick, his amendment that was requiring 24/7 nurses with an exemption for rural and regional centres. And for those of us that have an interest in rural and regional Australia, what was being proposed would have seen nurses leave aged care facilities in rural and regional areas because they would have been required to be staffing metropolitan facilities. Now, on this side of the House, we actually respect rural and regional Australians and believe that they have equal rights to those that live in metropolitan areas. But again, we know that those opposite, who are now the government, do not see rural and regional Australia in the same light. There are two things, though, that no longer will be part of this reform that were recommended by the Royal Commission, and that would be workers' screening regulations, because we actually believe that people that go to work in these facilities should be working them correctly. They should go with the right intent, they should be qualified, and they should be able to deliver the services that elderly Australians require. And the other thing that's going to be missing would be a legislated star rating system. And as we've talked about, those of us that are facing the challenges, looking for facilities, looking at options for our parents, being able to see how a facility performs in a very simple way would actually be a benefit to a lot of families. But again, this isn't about making it easier for families looking at aged care options. This is about appeasing union mates, making sure the unions are all up to speed, all happy that the paymasters are being served. So we will be keeping a very, very close eye on what sort of reforms this government is now looking to put in place, because it should always be about the people going into these facilities and not about the politics, not about the unions, and not about appeasing those that demand the most from you because they pay for you. So what we've seen is a delay to this significant legislation. It's disrespectful. It's disrespectful to all Australians, it's disrespectful to older Australians, and it is absolutely disgraceful that you sat on your hands, that you refused to support this bill in opposition, but now your first bill is almost a direct mirror. And I guess the funny thing is, though, and we saw yesterday in question time, the complete lack of ability to be across a brief, the complete lack of understanding of government is hard, people. You actually have to do things now. Now, lucky for you, there was actually legislation drafted. You've just made a couple of changes here and there, watered it down a bit where it suited you. But you know, thankfully someone had written something. But what's going to happen, I think, as we see when time goes on, and we saw from Senator Watt's performance yesterday in question time, and absolutely no comprehension, couldn't even give a number. What I think we'll continue to see is a reaching back to the coalition government, looking at legislation and saying, well, how did they do it? Because we don't know what we're doing. We're not across our brief. We don't understand how to actually govern. And it's a little bit interesting when you see those that were very, very good when they sat on this side of the chamber. When they sat on this side of the chamber, had lots to say, lots and lots of things to say, lots of interjections, lots of commentary. But once we go to the other side of the chamber and we're actually supposed to do work, we're actually supposed to govern for Australians, all Australians, including elderly Australians, including for farmers, when those opposite now in government are supposed to actually work for Australians, make sure that this country is running, to keep Australians safe, whether it's from foot and mouth, whether it's elderly Australians in aged care. You actually have to make decisions. You actually have to be across your brief. You actually have to understand the detail. You have to understand that there are impacts to everyday Australians when you go and legislate emissions reduction targets, create a lawyer's picnic, remove any responsibility from you and tie Australians' economy up in more and more red tape, green tape, and any other padlock you can manage to find to ensure that Australia is put at an economic disadvantage internationally because, you know, it makes you feel good shutting down every coal-fired power station in this country. I mean, we've got the Greens here. They need to ring their mates in Germany. They understand how things work. They understand that what people in their countries want to see is the lights on. They want to put their dishwashers on. They want to make sure their fridge is still running. But not those opposite. Those opposite are more interested in virtue signalling, in shrouding themselves in wokeness, which is really just an opportunity to be mean, to be rude. And I think we saw that last night after the outstanding speech by Senator Price. When those opposite, those that deemed it worthy to even attend the chamber, couldn't bring themselves to even stand up. If they noticed the courtesy prior to Senator Stewart's speech, those of us on this side of the chamber gave it the recognition it deserved, not those opposite. And in fact, we saw...
Order, Senator Hughes. Senator Urquhart.
Point of order, Madam Deputy Chair. I would draw the attention to the Speaker currently that we're actually on the Aged Care and Other Legislation Amendment Bill, and I would ask you to draw her back to that point.
Yes, thank you, Senator Urquhart. Senator Hughes, on the point of order, or I can rule on the point of order, which is I think Senator Urquhart is correct. We are here debating the Aged Care and Other Legislation Amendment Bill, and if you could focus your comments on that, that would be appreciated. Well,
we would like to see, focus on aged care, because that actually does include aged care in Indigenous communities. We have Senator Price here who understands the importance of proper legislation around Indigenous communities. Not virtue signalling, not the paternalistic Greens looking at Senator Price last night like she didn't know what she was talking about and couldn't even bring themselves to stand up, because Senator Price understands that Indigenous aged care facilities would not be included in some of these regulations because of all these different little exemptions that are required. Because those opposites seem to think that they know what's best because they'll tell them what's best. They'll tell them what they need to be doing and how they need to perform. They don't take advice from those on the ground. Whether it's aged care reform, where they've just taking our legislation, but then they go turn around and remove the cashless debit card, where we're going to see the humbugging come back, where we're going to see domestic violence, access to alcohol, all of these things come back because they don't know how to govern. They don't know how to make decisions for the benefit of Australians. What they know is how to virtue signal. What they know is how to completely drag down everyday Australians, to upset the family budget, to make it harder for families to get into aged care, to make it harder for families to navigate the system. That's all those opposite want to do. But why are we surprised? And if we do want to, look at some of the things that they could have done to continue to support the aged care sector, but have chosen not to, those opposite now in government who purport and have always purported that they are the bastions of care, they are the bastions of supporting people and looking after people. At the first available opportunity, they ceased access to the rapid antigen tests for aged care homes. So, whilst on this side of the chamber, they were happy to squawk about the requirements for rapid antigen tests, hilariously at a time when the Premier of WA actually had made them illegal, but, you know, never let the facts get in the way of a good screech across the chamber, as Senator Watt only knows too well. But at the first opportunity, they removed access to free rapid antigen tests for aged care homes as outbreaks were occurring. Now, the other thing that they did as soon as they could get in, because we know those opposite now in government, they actually really don't and never have supported our Defence Forces or the work that they do. At every opportunity they look to cut defence spending. And the Defence Force have actually provided critical support to those in the aged care sector throughout the COVID pandemic. But of course, those opposite, get into government, first thing they do, remove that support. Get rid of the Australian Defence Force assisting in aged care. So, where we are is a situation where they don't know how to write legislation, so they've just pretty much picked up what we put forward before, gone out to the union mates and asked them, how can we help you? Not how can we help older Australians, not how we can help families. Hey, union mates, how can we help you? So the first thing they do, remove the schedule that requires worker screening. So to every Australian out there whose parents are subjected to workers that are not up to speed, that don't have good intent, who don't have the ability to look after your elderly parents, you only need to look to those now sitting on the government benches, over there on the Treasury benches, that it was never about you and your family, it was never about you and your parents, it was always, and always will be, about their union mates.
Thank you, Senator Hughes. Senator Urquhart.
Thank you,